Thank you very much, sir. Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning. This is the 1401st day of continuous webinar conducted by International Forum for Promoting Homeopathy. Today, our guest is Dr. Manish Azad Singh, and we welcome all to the session. Let us begin the session with 1 minute silent prayer. Thank you all. As you all know, yesterday we have a wonderful celebration of our 1400 day, and a lot of people from different part of the world made their statement on the subject, which was very, very interesting one. Sahani sir also made a wonderful statement during the session, and really we all enjoyed the session. And as you know, this is the first day after that, and that's the 1401st day. We have a wonderful person from our team, Assistant Professor Dr. Manish Azad Singh, who has completed his MD, and he's a hardworking and jealous person who always go with the leadership level, and he is having a very good experience with homeopathy. He is working as an assistant physician at Divine Homeopathy Clinic, Varanasi. That is the place from our Prime Minister has sought the election. And so that means he is having wonderful connection with those people there. And he is Divine, as you all know, that Divine Homeopathy Clinic is a renowned clinic, and it is existing for the last 33 years. He has got very good experience from there, and he is having a lot of cases with him now. And he is a person who has been here in our forum to moderate in English as well as in Hindi session. And he has presented more than 10 papers in this forum in 2 different sessions. And he has conducted and he has published 15 scholarly articles, and published 15 scholarly articles in a well-known magazine in both English and Hindi. This is on Kent repertory, and Times Tinea corpus are very, very important. And he has selected STS's research on breast cancer, and he is a person who has he published his theory on cancer as well as melasma, was selected for the CCRH STS program. And these are all about his, and he's still having a lot of cases with him. He is a person who is working on repertory and making classes on that particular subject. So today, doctor will be discussing about paranoid personality disorder. As you know, he is a person who has presented so many psychiatric problems and in this forum. So today we can invite our beloved guest, Dr. Manish Azad, to this session. Welcome, doctor.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. And I have been fortunate enough to have been taken around 12 sessions, and I think this would be my 12th or 13th session. And I'm very grateful to IFPH for giving me this opportunity to come again on this platform. And I'm very thankful to Sahni sir as well as Dhanesh sir for constantly motivating me, for providing me with these opportunities. And I would request Dr. Ankita to share her screen. Dr. Ankita. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. So today.
1 minute, Doctor. Shall I make Dr. Ankita as host, because I have some network problem with my laptop. So sometimes since I am joining in the mobile, it may lose. So you can make me co-host, Dr. Ankita.
Yes, sir, sure. Sir, you are the host only.
She would be changing, I think, in a bit. Yeah, done. Now you are the host, Ankita. Uh, so today's our topic is understanding paranoid personality disorder. Okay, and beforehand, I would like to tell about that in personality disorders we have already discussed about cluster B personality disorders and one of the cluster C personality disorder. Today I would be discussing about cluster A personality disorder, that is paranoid personality disorder. Now obviously you guys would be confused that what is cluster A and cluster B and cluster C. If you are new to this new to my sessions, then I would request Dr. Ankita to change the slide and please tell people what are these. So firstly, let's understand what are personality disorders. Okay, so basically personality disorders are a group of mental health conditions which are characterized by enduring patterns of behavior, cognition, and inner experience that deviate significantly from cultural expectations. Now if we understand this line, then we have to understand that there should be an enduring pattern. Okay, if a person is suffering from an abnormal state or an abnormal mental state from the last 2 months or 3 months, you can't diagnose him or her for personality disorder. Okay, this should be more than 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and this should be of a lifelong problem. Okay, and how do we compare it? Okay, so this got compared from the comparison. Sorry, this get the comparison from the cultural expectation. Okay, that your behavior, your relationship, your work performance, your social interaction, how is it different from other people? Okay, and if those are different in enormous way and is not normal, then that could be significantly considered under personality disorder. Okay, and if we have to diagnose someone under personality disorder, then the questionnaire would be from DSM-5. Okay, I would be talking more about DSM-5. Next slide, please. Dr. Ankita, next slide, please.
So is it not changing? I have changed.
No, it is not changing.
So now,
No.
okay. So just a minute. So is it visible?
Don't go in the complete slideshow mode. Try to use it on the
Sir,
PPT.
actually, I forgotten was stop my video. That's why.
Okay.
Sir, is it visible now?
The screen is visible, but it is stuck on the same slide.
Why so?
Try to remove it and upload it once again.
Okay, sir. I think the screen is hanged, sir. I'm so sorry.
Ankita, are you here?
Yes, sir. Sir, I think my
What's happening?
Zoom app has been hanged. I, so I'll be joining in a bit. So please, I'm so sorry.
Okay, okay, no problem. I'm so sorry, Dr. Ankita would be joining in a bit, and then we can continue. हो रहा है चल रहा है मैं होस्ट हूँ जल्दी ज्वाइन करो हाँ अब रखो तो पहले
So please make me host or co-host.
Ankita, you are the host again.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. So now coming back to the topic, as we have already discussed, that personality disorders are basically the type of disorders in which either cognition or behavior or your social issues are not normal, okay, and are not as per the society's perspective, okay. So in this midst, it is divided as per the DSM-5 in 3 clusters, okay. The first cluster would be the cluster A. These are order-eccentric disorders, okay. These are of 3 types: paranoid personality disorder, schizoid personality disorder, and schizotypal personality disorder. Next slide, please. Then there is the cluster B. And I have already taken sessions on cluster B. The whole personality disorders of cluster B are finished. It is dramatic and emotional or erotic disorders, okay. These are of 4 types: antisocial personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder, and narcissistic personality disorder. Next slide, please. Then there is cluster C, anxious or fearful disorders, okay. Now here in cluster C, we have avoidant personality disorder, dependent personality disorder, and obsessive compulsive personality disorder. We have already discussed obsessive compulsive personality disorder in cluster C, and today we are discussing in cluster A, paranoid personality disorder. Next slide, please. Okay. So this is the slide of paranoid personality disorder, and we have to understand what it is, okay. So firstly, let's understand how paranoid personality disorder is characterized, okay. Now, if we talk about paranoid personality disorder, then there is always a pervasive distrust, okay, the suspiciousness that someone is doing something to me or someone is doing something against me. So these kind of person are always suspicious of people around them, okay. They can't trust anyone, they can't trust anything, okay. And this leads to pattern of interpreting others' motives as malevolent, okay. They can't trust. Since you can't trust anyone, you can't think that they are in favor of you, okay. You will always try to think that they are planning something against me, they are potential threat to me, they can betray me, okay. And now the symptoms appear that these kind of people are often hyper vigilant, okay, constantly on guard. So you can see that if there is a person, paranoid personality disorder, if there is a person suffering from it, this guy can have hundreds of camera in a single room. Living in a 1 BHK flat can have hundreds of camera in that same flat, okay, because he is always vigilant, okay, he's always constantly on guard. Now, if we go on the history, we know that the concept of paranoia itself has a very long history in psychiatry, okay, but paranoid personality disorder comes first when Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, that is DSM. When DSM got primary published in 1980, then paranoid personality disorder was added in it, okay. So firstly, paranoid personality disorder, as the name suggests, comes in 1980, okay. And then later on in 1987, 1994, and in 2000, 2013, it got modified. And before its inclusion in DSM-3, there was the concept of
paranoia and not as personality disorder. Okay, there was no name as paranoid personality disorder. The term which was used in the past was paranoia, and therefore in DSM third, first time the word paranoid personality disorder got introduced, and the year was 1980. Next slide, please. Now coming back to the symptoms, how can it be characterized? Firstly, since you are suspicious to each and everyone, okay, so obviously there would be a distrust. Since you are suspicious, you are not trusting anyone. Since you are suspicious, you are hyper vigilant. Since you are suspicious, you are reluctant to confide. Why reluctant to confide? Because for confiding, you have to make yourself as victim. You have to make yourself weak to confide into someone else, to tell your emotions to someone else, and it is not possible for a person suffering from paranoid personality disorder. Then they are bearing grudges because you are their enemy. They will bear grudges against you, and then there is anger and hostility. We would be discussing this in brief. In next slide, please. History of paranoid personality disorder. So as we already know, the term paranoia was used briefly in history, and the term paranoid personality disorder got introduced in DSM-3 in 1980. Okay, so when we talk about ancient and early conceptualization, the term paranoia basically originated from ancient Greek and Roman writing, where it was described as a condition characterized by extreme suspiciousness, persecutory beliefs, and sometimes hallucination. Okay, so as we were already discussing that in paranoid personality disorder, also there is suspiciousness, there is persecutory beliefs, and there is hallucinations. So throughout history, the word paranoia was always associated with psychotic disorders. The only problem in the past was it was always associated with word schizophrenia also. Okay. So now in today's world, we know that schizophrenia and paranoid personality disorder are not the same thing, but in the history, it was always associated with the same kind of psychotic disorders. Okay. Next slide, please. Then we get Freudian influence. Okay. In early 20th century, Sigmund Freud came, and he has a thought process toward paranoia through the psychoanalytic way. Okay. Freud basically conceptualized that paranoia is a defense mechanism against unconscious conflicts and repressed impulses. Okay. So if you have an unconscious conflict or impulse inside you, that a person whom you are married with is betraying you, and you can't trust her or you can't trust him, then obviously that suspiciousness and that repressed impulse can come out in one way or another. Okay. And now imagine that if someone is suffering from this kind of influence from birth, okay, from the age of 16, from the age of 14, from the age of 18, then obviously that would be converted into something else. And that is what Sigmund Freud was trying to tell, okay? And he distinguished between delusional paranoia associated with psychosis and paranoid traits differently. So as we already discussed, that paranoia was always associated with schizophrenia. He differentiated basically that there is a delusional paranoia, which is very different, and then there is paranoid traits, which is very different. Next slide, please. Now there is emergence as a personality disorder, that how it got emerged in personality disorder. As we already discussed in DSM-1 and DSM-2, there was no term as paranoid personality disorder, okay? It was associated with schizophrenia, and the word was used, paranoia. It first got associated in the year 1980. The DSM was DSM-3, and the word was introduced as paranoid personality disorder. Next slide, please. So this we have already discussed. DSM-3 1980, the first word paranoid personality disorder came into existence, okay? And now the enduring pattern of distrust, suspiciousness, interpretive biasness, is all words were used for its explanation. And later on in DSM-3R that came in 1987, in 1994, in 2000, very much different diagnostic criteria and stable and pervasive natures were introduced. Okay, so firstly got introduced in DSM-3, but later on got changed. Now, diagnostic criteria and features. If we talk about DSM-5, there are some symptoms, and these symptoms are always used to define what is paranoid personality disorder. The first is suspicion. This person suspects without sufficient basis that others are exploiting, harming, or deceiving them. Okay, so they don't have any kind of sufficient ground, or they don't have any evidence against you, but they have a belief, a strong belief that you are kind of exploiting them, you are harming them, or you're deceiving them. Okay. So the first word which you have always has to remember if you are talking about paranoid personality disorder is suspiciousness. Okay. All of the rest of the terms comes after that. Then the second is preoccupation with unjustified doubts. So obviously, if you are suspicion, then you have unjustified doubts about loyalty, about trustworthiness, even if it is a friend, a spouse, or an associate. Then obviously we have discussed about reluctance to confide. Why reluctance to confide? Because I have already said this, that you have to become weak. You have to become what is the word, that you have to become weak to confide into someone. Okay. And since this guy is always suspicious that this can be used against me in future. Okay. So obviously he would be always reluctant to confide. He always reads hidden demeaning or threatening meanings into benign remarks. Now, what does this mean? If you simply say that you are too fat, for size 36 waist, okay, then this guy will read it as that I am too fat, I eat a lot, you are trying to body shame me, you are not my friend, you are not my true friend. Shailesh was saying right about you, or Simran was saying right about you, and now the whole of the dogma which was in the background of his mind comes into the front. Okay. And then there is persistently bearing grudges and is unforgiving of insults. So they do not forgive easily, okay, because they are suspicious about you, they are suspicious about your motives, they won't forgive you easily. They will always think that you have something in your mind and you are not the true friend or true associate of them. Next slide, please. Paranoid personality disorder, we have to understand it with get fact. Okay, this is a mnemonic to remember it. The first is grudges held for long periods. Second is exploitation expected without a sufficient basis. The third is trustworthiness of others doubted because you are suspicious, you are doubting each and everyone's trustworthiness. Then there is fidelity of sexual partner questioned. Then there is attacks on character as perceived. Then there is confiding rarely in others. And there is threatening meanings read into, because you always read into a sub sentence which is not even said by a person or not even felt by. Next slide, please. There are some key features of paranoid personality disorder, and we have to discuss this. Okay. As we are already discussing the symptom and we have already read DSM-5, so we know that these are the symptoms of paranoid personality disorder. The first is always suspiciousness and distrust. Okay. They don't have any evidence against you. They just have a belief. This can be delusion, but you should know it as a firm belief. Okay. They have a firm belief that you are not loyal to them. You are not true to them. You are not a true friend. You are not a true associate. And there is a suspiciousness and there is a distrust always around you. Okay. So the first thing which we have to remember about paranoid personality disorder or a person suffering from paranoid is always suspiciousness. The second would be unjustified doubts about loyalty. Since they are suspicious about you, they will always question your loyalty. They will always question that, what do you think about this, or your family, or your colleague, or your spouse. Each and every one can be doubted, and they are not certain about your loyalty. They will always question you. They will always question your credibility. They will always question your motives. That what is your motive? Why are you trying to help them? You must have heard some people trying to talk about you that they always try to be nice to me, they always try to help me, but I think there is a motive behind it. These person can be of paranoid personality disorder. Okay. Then there is the symptom which we have been talking about right now is reluctance to confide. Obviously, since they have a suspicious nature, they always think that if I give a personal information about me to some people, then they will use against me. That information can be used against me in future, and these people can always try to use it against me. They will tell it to my enemy. They will tell it to someone else. Let's talk about alcohol. If someone is drinking alcohol and they think that family should not know, okay, then if a person is suffering from paranoid personality disorder and that friend is sitting to their family, then they will always think that, oh my God, this person is sitting with my family. They can tell it to my family. They can tell it to my father, my mother, or someone else. So there is always a reluctance to confide. The reason is always trustworthiness. Next slide, please. Then there is interpreting harmful intentions. There is always a interpretation towards harmful intention, that they always think that you have an intention. There is always malice inside your head, and you do not trust. They do not trust you, so they will always think that you are malicious towards them. Okay. Then there is hypervigilance. Obviously, hypervigilance is there because if they doubt, they think that you can poison them, you can always think of murdering them, then they will be hypervigilant. They will always scrutinize you. They will always use camera. They can use earphones. They can use microphones. They can use the spy cameras. So they are hypervigilant. They are on toes. These are the people which you can see the simple statements that they are the people who will tell you that someone was following me. Okay. Someone was looking towards me. The whole camera was on me. Okay. So they are hypervigilant. Then there is hostility and grudges. Obviously, because you have a defensive behavior, you think that each and everyone is against you, you will have hostility and grudges. You won't think that anyone can love you or anyone can perceive you or anyone is your friend. So you will hold grudges against each and everything. And last is argumentative or defensive behavior. Since you are suspicious, you don't trust each and everyone, you don't trust anyone by the instance. So obviously you are going to be argumentative and defensive. Next slide, please. Now, if you are talking about a person who is suspicious, then obviously the word comes social withdrawal. The person who is suspicious about each and everyone, who do not trust anyone, who do not have a friend, who do not have a relative whom he trusts. So obviously he can't live socially. He will always think that I do not belong to this society. You must have heard some people talking that I do not belong to this society. I belong to somewhere else. I think I should belong in the 90s era and I'm belonging in 2024. So I'm an old soul. A very famous Instagram slang that I'm an old soul. No, bro, you're not an old soul. You just have social dogma. You are not well occupied with how society behaves, and you are not able to change as per society's criteria. So that is the basic problem. Then there is emotional coldness. Since you can't feel emotions, since you are suspicious about each and everyone uh, uh, instances, since you are suspicious about each and everyone motives, so obviously you will be emotionally cold because you are not attached to them. And obviously then this will impact your daily life. Next slide, please. Then there is rigid thinking, excessive self-reliance, hyper-awareness of minor details, and difficulty compromising. Now let's understand this. If you have a suspicious nature, and since you have a delusion that you have a rigid belief that this person is not trustworthy, then obviously there is a rigid belief, a rigid thinking around that thing that, oh my God, I can't believe this guy. I can't go night out with this guy, or I can't go to a lake. This person can drown me. So you will have a rigid thinking. Now, since you are suspicious, you will be self-reliant that no, I can do this job by myself. You will try to sabotage me, and obviously their self-reliance comes into the picture. Hyper awareness of minor details. Since these guys are always on their toes, they're hyper vigilant, so they will be hyper awareness of minor detail. That, oh my God, this hole could be a camera, and there is a person looking me behind the glass, and I should check it twice. These are the people who make Instagram reels that you should always check the mirrors if you are going into an OYO room. So obviously, these people are always hyper aware of minor details. And then there is difficulty in compromising because they do not compromise easily. It's okay. It's okay. Let's go to the next slide. Then there is perfectionism. Since you are always self-reliant, since you are always suspicious about others' motive, then always there comes competition that I am the best. I always do my work alone. I don't need anyone. I'm a one-man army. So you want perfectionism, okay? You have a difficulty in letting go. That is why you bear grudges. You always have grudges. You always think about that this person has said this to me. I will take revenge of this, okay? Then there is selective trust. Now, what is selective trust? This is not a trust that you have a friend whom you trust 100%. This is a selective trust that I trust you in some matters, but I don't trust you in another matters. So they will not call their friend as a true friend. They will call that friend as an ally, that he's my ally. I can trust him with my projects. I can trust him with my school homework, but I can't trust him with my let's say about love life or about sexual life or about alcohol life. I can't trust him with this kind of behaviors. Okay. So that is selective trust, that you can trust him in few things, but you can't trust him in another things. And then there is hypersensitivity to criticism. Because you are self-reliant, you are always on your toe, you think each and everyone is your enemy, you will have hypersensitivity to criticism. Next slide, please. Paranoia in a stressful situation. Since they feel they are vulnerable. Since they feel that there is always a time of stress, they can exacerbate their suspiciousness and distrust. And that during the time of their stress, if you are telling them that you are the manager and you have to manage the next freshers or the next farewell party, these are the guys who will think that, oh my God, I think Abhishek is trying to sabotage me. I think this person is trying to sabotage me. This person is behind me. That professor is bitching me about me. And now these kinds of things come into the picture. Because it is a stressful situation, you have to manage a thing. There, the paranoia will come into the picture. And obviously, this will have a direct impact on your work and on your relationship, on the societies, on your behavior towards society. Next slide, please. Now, there are some images which I have selected for you to make you better understand that what could be paranoid personality disorder. This is the person who is closing the door, and he thinks that each and everything in this room is looking towards him. Okay, and what it is written this, that I am watching you. Okay, not government, but I am watching you. Now there is a phone, there is a laptop, there is a TV, and there is a window, and each and everything is watching. Okay. So now the suspiciousness is of that level that everyone is watching towards. Next slide, please. Now let's see this. There is someone knocking on the door, and this person is saying that I don't trust his shoes. Don't let him in. Okay. So now this person can trust that person in some things. He could be his ally, but this guy is not trusting his shoes. That his shoes could have a camera, his shoes could have a knife, his shoes could have a poison, and his shoes could have been infected. Calcarea carp comes into a picture of paranoid personality disorder because it has a fear of infection. The rubric is fear of infection, mind. Okay. Calcarea carp could come into picture because there is a shoes which could have dirts, and I could not let the shoes into my room because I have a fear of infection. So I don't trust his shoes. Okay. So just in homeopathy reference. And so that's why paranoia comes into mind. When you sneeze and someone say bless you, but you are home alone. Now this is the level of suspiciousness that I am home alone and I am sneezing and someone is saying bless you, and there's no one else in the room. What is happening around me? Is there a ghost? Is there someone is around me? Someone is always looking at me. Okay. So that is the kind of suspiciousness or distrust. Next slide, please. Now these are comments. Okay. Someone is writing, oh, this is so cute. Sends a SWAT team to your exact address. Okay. And now a person is writing that this joke isn't funny. I struggle with extreme paranoia. Please be mindful of things you comment. Okay. And then someone is replying, I'm in living in your walls. So now that is the level of suspiciousness, or that is the level of distress that, oh my God, I can get a SWAT team in my home in the next 30 minutes. Or, oh my God, is someone really living into my wall? So that is the level of distrust. Now, we have already read that they can change the meaning of your sentence. Okay. So this is a doctor written on the clinic that please be seated. They will be out to get you. Okay. And the person who is suffering from paranoid personality disorder, he will get the line to get you, that they are coming out to get you. They are behind you. They will try to get you. Okay. So if a person is suffering from paranoid personality disorder, he will only read these kinds of 3 or 4 words into your line. Next slide, please. Now look at the window in this room, and there's this room and a window, and there are 15 to 20 cameras around that room, and a person is just trying to look at the same angle that, oh my God, if someone is trying to poison me, or is someone trying to rob me, and I think there is someone trying to come into my room. So this is the level of paranoid personality disorder we're talking about. Next slide, please. Just because I'm paranoid does not mean they're not after me. So this is the level of distrust, and that is the level of a strong belief that I could be paranoid. It could be the chance that I am paranoid, but I know that they're after me. There is someone that they are after me. Okay. So that is the level of strong belief with distrust. Dear paranoid people who check behind the shower contain for murderers. If you do find one, what's your plan? So paranoid personality disorder people always try to check each and everything, that there must be someone inside, below my bed, inside my almirah, behind a curtain. So this is the question, that if you really find someone, what are you going to do? What is your future plan? So that is the level of suspiciousness. Next slide, please. Now, this is the image which is of a single person, but this is kind of paranoia starter pack, that they will always feel like everyone is hyper aware of you. They think that their phone is watching them. They are crafting escape plans to drop everyone, and you become unreachable. They want to become jaunty roads, I think. Then they can't look into the mirror too long for fear of hidden camera behind the mirror. Then they have feeling like everyone know your secrets and they're conspiring against you. Every unknown number could be someone you cut contact and they are trying to find you again. Okay. Then there's someone behind you. No one is watching you from the outside right now because he's searching his window. Can't think about anything related to yourself in public because there could be mind readers around you. Okay. So now he has fear of mentalist also. सुहानी शाह के पास बिल्कुल नहीं जाना चाहिए इसको. Having a general feeling of behind watching at all times, especially when you sleep. He always think that if I'm sleeping, someone is watching me from the behind. Next slide, please. You need to stop being so paranoid. Not everyone is a clone. And he says that the real Mary would never say that. Now, I think that is a clone inside the hand of the prince. And he's dancing with that clone, and he thinks that the clone is saying to him that you need to stop being so paranoid. Everyone is not a clone. And now the prince says in the reply that the real Mary would not say that. So that is the level of distrust, that it do not trust anyone. Me spends any amount of time with everyone. As soon as they leave, the person who has a problem of paranoia, they always think that they probably hated each and every second. They only tolerated me because they feel obligated to do so. They couldn't have said that on my face, so they would have been discussing that around my back. So that is the level of distrust. Next slide, please. Now the features which we are talking about is suspiciousness, is social isolation, it is detachment, it is hostility, and it is paranoia. So these are the features which you have to remember. Next slide, please. Now, if we talk about epidemiology, there's prevalence of 0.5 to 2.5%. If we talk about gender difference, then it is more common in men than in comparison to women. If we talk about age of onset, then obviously it feeds off in early adulthood. If a person is crossing 18, 19, they could be seeing it around them. Then if we talk about comorbidity, obviously personality disorders never exist alone. Okay, so they will have something with them. That could be substance use disorder, that could be anxiety, a phase of phobia or something. So that there always be something with it. Comorbidity always exists with personality disorder, usually. Next slide, please. Impact on functioning. Obviously, if you're suffering from paranoid personality disorder, then that would impact your functioning. That would impact your social, occupational, or interpersonal functioning, because you do not trust everyone. You do not trust anyone, for instance, and you will think that you can't have a steady employment. You can't have a fixed spouse for a longer time. So there is a problem. Then there is cultural and social factors. Paranoid personality disorder. If we attach it with cultural and social factors, then obviously cultural norms regarding trust, interpersonal relationship, communication skills, that could be responsible for cultural and social factors of paranoid personality disorder. Then there is treatment seeking. If we talk about paranoid personality disorder, these are not the people who would be seeking treatment with their own feelings. Now, these are the person who are always brought up by a friend or a spouse or a father or a mother, but they can't be coming treatment seeking by themselves. Treatment seeking, usually antisocial personality disorder, are the people who comes to you for treatment seeking. Long-term prognosis. If we talk about paranoid personality disorder, then the long-term prognosis is fine if you have support, if you have a family who is supporting you or a social society who is supporting you, then you can have a good prognosis. Next slide, please. If we talk about causes, there is genetic factors. Now, how genetic factors? If a mother or a father is suffering from this kind of a disease, or you have a twin and he's suffering from that kind of disease, then yeah, you can be suffering from this disease. If we talk about biological factors, then neurobiological factors such as cortisol can have an effect of paranoia. Then such as dopamine or serotonin can have effect. And obviously then there is early childhood experience, because each and every psychological theory talks about early childhood experience. Next slide, please. There are some psychological factors, obviously. Since you have a mistrust, hypersensitivity to threat, rigid thinking, obviously you have many psychological factors with you. Environmental and social factors. Why environmental and social factors? If you have been victimized always, if you have been betrayed always, you always have social factors can define you. Okay, so obviously social factors do matter, and how you're coping with them, that also matters. So maximum personality disorder, Sigmund Freud theory always say, we will talk about psychoanalytical theory in upcoming slides. They always say that how you cope up with a stimulus, they always decide how you come up in a personality disorder. Next slide, please. Obviously, we're talking about psychodynamic theory. Freudian perspectives say that there is a defense mechanism against unconscious conflict and impulses. You have an unconscious conflict, you have an unconscious impulse, and that could convert into paranoid trait. That if you have a difficulty for perceiving threats, if you are always feeling vulnerable, then that can convert in future in any kind of personality disorder, could be paranoid also. Object relation theory, this theory extends Freud's idea only by emphasize that early relationship and their impact decide. Now, in each and every personality disorder, we have this kind of theory which always says that the early childhood or early adulthood always decides that, because the nature, the relationship with you and your parents or the caregivers is always important. Okay. Then there is cognitive behavioral theory. Cognitive disorder says that the individuals with PPD engage in cognitive distortions such as jumping to conclusions. So cognitive theory says that this is a cognition problem. You always jump to conclusion. You do not try to listen to someone. Okay. They always say that you have selective attention. You only listen to few words and you do not listen to the other words. And they say that attributing negative motives. You always attribute that someone has negative motive against. Then there is schema theory. Schema theory says that you have a core belief, you have a scheme against something, and that core belief is not letting you go of some idea. Okay. If you have a core belief of mistrust, that could convert you into paranoid personality disorder. And if you have a core belief of hysteria, if you have a core belief of self-love, that could convert you into narcissistic personality disorder. So obviously, schema theory says that if you have a core belief of something, of some emotion, and you are holding it too tight, then that could convert it. Then the next is attachment theory. Obviously, attachment theory says that what relationships you have been attached throughout the life, that relationships do define how you are going to convert. Next slide, please.
Host has disabled. Sir, host has disabled me to share.
Ankita, what's happening?
But someone else is host now, and okay, now we can share.
I have explained the theories. Let's go to the next slide, please. Let's go to the next slide, please. If you are trying to diagnose a paranoid personality disorder, then you always have to give importance to the clinical interview. How a patient is approaching you, what are you asking, and what are the questions? What are you framing? What are you aiming towards? That is always, that should be your perspective. If your clinical interview is thorough, if you are always asking thorough questions, then you can see that level of suspicion, you can see that level of distress which he is suffering through, and he can say that he do not trust you completely, but since so and so told me to come to you, that's why I have come towards you. Okay. And then again calcarea carb term comes in the picture, because calcarea carbs have opinion. Okay. He always thinks that other people's opinion matter. Okay. Then diagnostic criteria. Obviously, if we talk about diagnostic criteria, then there is DSM-5, and you have always, in each and every personality disorder, you have to go through the DSM-5. DSM-5 always decides that your diagnosis is correct or your diagnosis is wrong. There is no test which can define that a person is suffering from personality disorder or a person is not suffering from personality disorder. Next slide, please. Obviously, there are differential diagnoses. If you think about personality disorder, then there could be schizophrenia, there could be anxiety disorders, there could be other personality disorders too. which could have problems with understanding paranoid personality disorder. Okay, so there are differential diagnosis, and you have to understand that differential diagnosis easily. Okay, if you can understand phobia, if you can understand anxieties, then you can understand that these could be differential diagnosis for sufferings as paranoid personality disorders. Then there's bioimaging studies. If we understand that, then there are tests, CTs and MRIs, which tells you that there are some part of brains which get affected if we talk about medical and medical imaging. Then there's psychological testing. Obviously, there are some tests, but you have to understand that the last answer towards each and every diagnosis is DSM-5. Okay, if DSM-5 gets each and every pointers of its towards tick, and you get +1 in each and every pointers, then that person is diagnosed with personality disorder. Okay, and obviously there is duration of symptoms. Since we have written definition that any kind of personality disorder can't be defined in 3 months, can't be defined in 1 month, can't be defined in 6 months. Okay, so obviously duration do matters. Next slide, please. Modern treatment. Since we think that cognitive behavioral theory thinks that there is a problem of cognition, you reach to decision very quickly, then they will go to the problem of that cognition, and they will train you that how you should not reach to the conclusion, how you should not derive that meaning of that letter. Same goes with the schema focus theory. Schema focus theory talks about that what is your core belief. Okay, and they will try to treat that core belief. If it is a narcissist core belief, then narcissistic personality disorder. If paranoia, then paranoid personality disorder. Next slide, please. Obviously, there is medication management. And in medication management, there is no management for any kind of personality disorder. There is no paracetamol can be given at a specific kind of paranoid personality disorder. That if you are suffering from a paranoid personality disorder, then take this medicine and oh my God, it is cured. No. In any kind of personality disorder, it is always given as mood stabilizers for mood swings. Could be sleep inducers, could be for pain reliefs. So it is always that the medicine could be given on the basis of symptoms and not for the mental health. Okay. Next slide, please. Obviously, when we talk about treatment, then you should understand that long-term support. If we are talking about any kind of psychological disease, we have to understand that psychological support, social support, the friend circle you are living in, the environment, how supportive it is, or how helpful they are, that always matters if we're talking about any kind of personality disorders or any kind of psychological disorders, for instance, and how they're helping you in coping up. If someone is treating you as oh my God, you are mad, oh my God, you need a shrink, oh my God, you are deaf or something like that, you do not look good, then obviously in living in that society is always a challenge, and they will never let you out of your stress, and obviously that will cause you a disease. So obviously the society or the people or the core in which you are living does matter in prognosis. Now let's go to the homeopathic treatment. Next slide, please. We have some rubrics. I'm going through them one by one. Mind suspicious, considering everybody's enemy, suspicion foolish, his best suspicious of his best friend, suspicious people are hiding things from him, suspicious people are plotting against his life, suspicious people are talking about her, and delusion, everyone is an enemy. Obviously, we have discussed the symptoms, then we can understand that these would be the rubrics. Delusion, he's surrounded by enemies. Delusion, he's about being murdered. Delusion, he's persecuted. Delusion, he was pursued. Ailments from honor wounded. Now we have to understand that ailments from is necessary. We have to understand that since we have mental symptoms, ailments from always matter. That ailments from being scorned, ailments from being offended, ailments from vexation, these all matter. Delusions, vexation, offenses of vexation, and dwells on past disagreeable occurrences. Obviously, he has grudges, so they will dwell on past disagreeable occurrences. Hatred and revengeful, malicious, plans, making revengeful plans. Now sensitive to reprimand, sensitive to rudeness, sensitive to reproaches. Obviously, because he holds grudges, he is sensitive to each and everything. Delusion, she is criticized, and then delusion, being laughed and mocked at. Next slide. Delusion, everyone is looking at her, obviously, because he's too suspicious. Delusion, pursued by enemies. Delusion, being spied. Delusion, he's being stalked. Delusion, she's being watched. So these are for suspiciousness. Delusions, emotion suppressed, emotion loss of, emotion predominated by the intellect. That is why he has the symptom which we are talking about, that they can't tell their emotions to someone. Okay, so they will think practically. So that is why emotion suppressed, emotion loss of an emotion predominated by intellect. Obviously, they hide their emotions, so emotion secretive. They think that people are hiding things from him, then there is fear, persecution. Few more minutes left. Then there is mind aversion to company, mind mistrustful, mind revengeful, mind distrustful of persons, mind enemies fear of, mind fear betrayed of being, and mind hasty. Okay. Next slide, please. Now, as per organ of medicine, if we talk about mental diseases, then obviously there are four types of mental diseases. Okay, mental disease of physical origin, mental disease from acute exacerbation, mental disease of doubtful origin, and mental disease of emotional origin. Now, aphorism 230 seriously says that there is one only treatment in each kind of mental disorder. Okay, if you talk about physical origin, doubtful origin, and emotional origin mental disorders, then it is simply and clearly mentioned in aphorisms that you have to start the case with antipsychotics. Okay, then we have options of the antipsychotics only, because they say that mental disorders are of deep origin and antipsychotics can only treat them in the beginning. Then we have to go with the medicines if we think of something else. And in acute exacerbation, there are acute medicines such as belladonna and stramonium and hyoscyamus. Okay, so as per aphorisms, if we go, then we have antipsychotics as the main remedies. Next slide, please. Hahnemann considered that mental diseases are one-sided diseases and chronic type, affecting the whole psychosomatic entities, and they are of psoric origins. That is why he has talked about that antipsychotic should be given in these kinds of cases. Next slide, please. And then he has talked about the treatment, that the treatment include the psychotherapy, the necessary antipsychotic treatment according to the type of mental disease. So he has emphasized on antipsychotic treatments according to him. And obviously he has talked about psychotherapy because in any psychological disease, a psychological involvement, psychological counseling is important. Next slide, please. As per homeopathic remedies, we have stramonium. Obviously, stramonium has an intense fear, anxiety, and paranoia. We know that stramonium has a fear of dark. We know that in sleep he wants to hold something. He always have a feeling of holding something. He has a strong aversion towards the darkness. He can experience hallucinations and nightmares. And there is a strong connection between mental and physical symptoms. If you are seeing any kind of a stramonium person in your life, then obviously there would be fear of darkness included. Okay. Next slide, please. Talking about hyoscyamus, obviously, then if we are talking about hyoscyamus, we can see suspiciousness, jealousness, mistrustful, uh, things things that people are plotting behind him, people are deceiving him, people are trying to poison him, and obviously, since he is so suspicious, he can be shameless, he can be abusing, and he can't make appropriate remarks, he can't have appropriate gestures as per the society norms. So, hyoscyamus. Next slide. We have legacies in it because we are talking about suspicion. If in any kind we are talking about jealousy and suspicion on the same page, we will always have apis malefica for jealousy, we will always have suspicion, then we will talk about thuja, because the level of suspiciousness in thuja is always marked. Legacies, we have intense jealousy, we have suspicion, feeling of being persecuted and under attack. They have delusion of being poisoned, they have delusion of being harmed by others, and these individuals tend to be talkative, expressive, and have difficulty in trusting. Next slide, please. Cannabis indica. Why cannabis? Because these individuals have heightened suspicion, they have paranoia, they have delusions of being watched, they think that people are following him, and they think that they are going to be persecuted. And these are the people who have hallucinations or illusions, especially auditory. So that is why cannabis indica is written here. They have a heightened sensitivity to sensory stimulus. So they are restless, they are fearful, and these are the symptoms. If we use crude cannabis indica, obviously these are the symptoms. There is the symptom of paranoia in crude poisoning if we talk about. So yeah, next slide, please. Anacardium, obviously, because we are talking about suspicion, we are talking about mistrust, there is aggressive behavior. So obviously anacardium will be here. They have a delusion of being persecuted. They have a delusion that people are going to betray them. They are the individual who display a lack of empathy. They display a lack of remorse. And obviously we know that they have demon and angel sitting on both shoulders, and one is saying that do good and one is saying to do bad. One is saying to kill, another is saying to save. So there is a controversial thought, and he can't choose that he could he be cruel, could he be destructive, or should he be an angel. So there's a thought process. Now we have a case study. We have 4 minutes left. Obviously I'll run with it. So there is the Mr. UK. He is a 47-old person. He was a plumber, and he got admitted in National Homeopathy Research Institute in Mental Health, NHRIMH, on 14th November 2019. The symptoms which he had was self-talk, self-laughing, increased anger, suspiciousness toward mother, fears that neighbor coming to kill him, and he always says, "Don't kill me." He always hear a male voice talking about wife and son, they are coming now, always calling police by saying neighbors talking through a computer and satellite, running away from home, wandering tendency with sleeplessness, poor appetite and thirst. So now this mother cannot afford a manga hospital, so she took him to the NHRIMH. Next slide, please. So if we go into the history, the patient and his wife has a constant quarrels at home. They got divorced 6 years back, and having one son, now staying with the wife. He tried to meet his son after the divorce, but wife did not allow. There is a property related dispute. The patient and the brother 10 months back and now he has developed a fear that police will come, or the brother will come, and they'll try to kill him. Okay, his pre-morbid personality is very reserved, and he is introverted, fastidious, and religious. Next slide, please. Now, if we talk about the case study, the eye-to-eye contact is poor, the psychomotor activity is decreased, the interpersonal relationship is poor, the speech is irrelevant with normal volume, the mood is anxious, and the thought flow was increased. Next slide. There is a delusion of reference, delusion of persecution, avoided using a mobile phone, and says that an invalid satellite connection is present. He always says that PM Modi will call him and then he will take a bath. Next slide, let's come to the medicine. Next slide. So now this person was given stramonium 201 dose, okay? On 16/11/2019, 17/11 and 24/11 he was given Saclac. In 25/11 he was given stramonium 1 mg single dose, and then again he was given Saclac for a very long time. And then on 13/12/2019 he was given the last dose of stramonium 1 mg SOS, that if you need this medicine then you can use it, okay? And if we go to the next slide, we will know that this case was coherently treated. If we talk about brief psychiatric rating scale, then if we see these symptoms, the scores on admission was 1771717, and if we see the scores on discharge, then we have 1311111. Okay, and the scores on admission was 86, and the score on discharge was 24, and this all was done by stramonium 2 doses. Okay, so this is a recorded case. Okay, so thank you very much. This was my time to you. And I'm very thankful again to IFPH that they have called me. Thank you, Dr. Ankita, for changing my slides.
It's
Thank you
always
very
a
much.
pleasure to have you with us, sir. Is there any question from anyone? Because we have only 1 minute left. So if you want to ask anything, then please write in the chat box. Okay, Dhanesh sir is saying something. Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Manish. It's a really very good session. Unfortunately, there was some interruption due to network problems and other unexpected problems. Anyway, we can have some more sessions in the future. And thank you all for your excellent presentation. Thank you, Dr. Ankita, for supporting Dr. Manish for such a wonderful presentation. And definitely, we as homeopaths are proud to see such presentations are here. And all the presentations are really brilliant from Dr. Manish, and hope we can present some more sessions in the coming months also. Thank you all. Good night. And tomorrow we will have a session from Dr. Naveen Pashkar, and he will be talking about management of teeth problems with the homeopathy. Thank you all. Good night. And it is over to Dr. Manoj to moderate the Malayalam session now.